Hey everyone, it's the Stay Hungry podcast. I'm Andy Allen here with the man, the myth, the legend. That is Paul Mort. Let's go.
Mate, Stay Hungry podcast.
Stay Hungry podcast.
Guess what I am right now?
You're starving.
Hungry as fuck.
So you're fighting on when?
I am. I've got the British no-gi jiu-jitsu open this Saturday, so 4 days.
Yeah. And you weigh what now?
Yeah, I'm 82 now. I've got to be 79. It's fine.
Yeah, so that's drinking loads of water.
Loads of water. Little bit. Actually, you know what? The food's not even that bad. I'm not really counting calories. I've just had to lower my carbs a little bit. That's all. It's fine.
Yeah. So when I was doing judo, the weight cut. Yeah. Just is it getting easier?
I've never done one. You know, all I've done is whenever I've had matches or tournaments before, I've just took it slow. And I'm like, I don't want to do a water cut. But this time around, because I had a staph infection, I didn't train for a couple of weeks, and then my elbow was sore, so I couldn't train properly. And I've been traveling, and I like to eat. I eat out a lot, especially since I've stopped boozing. So this time I'm like, I spoke to someone, he was like, Paul, the problem is you're trying to drop body fat. He said, and you're training hard, it's quite difficult that. So he's like, just do a water cut. So I'm down, we'll give it a go. I'm just peeing a lot.
What's your favourite restaurant in the UK?
Ooh, great question.
Does it involve mashed potato?
Fuck no. Nice restaurants don't serve mashed potato.
What was that Matt Abbey podcast you did? And he was talking through the different things you do with a potato.
Yeah, Hasselback. He loves a Hasselback.
Nice.
My favourite restaurant that I'm going to answer this question. My favourite right now would be a restaurant called Hjem. Hjem is in Hexham. Yeah, it's Northumberland way. And it's like...
Sounds Scandi?
Scandi, amazing. Yeah, I was blown away by it. And obviously, it's one of my favourite things. Eating in Michelin star restaurants is something that I didn't think someone like me would be able to do. But since I've boozed, well, obviously I haven't drank this year, but even before that, I wasn't drinking much, and I've kind of, that's what I like to do. Do you know what I mean? I think once you've done it, it's like, oh yeah, this is a bit of me.
Nice.
Obviously, Ramsey's is amazing. I went to one recently that's new. It hasn't got a Michelin star yet, but it'll get one. With a guy, Kenny Atkinson. Kenny's been on the Great British Menu and won it loads of times. He's got a place called House of Ties, but he opened a new one called Solstice, and it'll get a Michelin star as soon as it's lush. Know what I had, Andy?
Go on.
I had this lamb dish, right? And at the end...
Never done the vegan thing.
Nah,
have you done that? Have you tried that?
Nah, not for me. Not for me. There was this lamb dish, and at the end of it, they brought you some bread out. I was like, this is a weird time to bring bread out. And they're like, oh, the bread's to mop up the gravy. I was like, and the gravy was like a lamb jus, mate. It was sensational. Which is and it's a very weird thing now for a Michelin star restaurant, isn't it? And I was thinking to myself, could this possibly stop you from getting a Michelin star? Because it's not a refined type of thing to do, but I'd be like, fuck that. I couldn't care about a Michelin star if I got to wipe up gravy with bread.
Right. Come on then. So you have your fight on Sunday, you take home gold. What are you going to go and eat?
I've already decided what I'm going to eat. If I take home gold or not.
Because you don't do McDonald's, is that right? You don't do fast food?
Not really. Not really. I don't mind it. Saturday night, we've got a long drive home, so it will probably be, in fact, I think I'll have a Nando's Saturday night. And then on Sunday, I haven't booked anywhere, but we'll either go with a fam, we'll either go Milan Carter, which is all right. I mean, we're not blessed with loads of nights, especially I'm not taking my kids to a Michelin star place. So we'll probably go Milan Carter, or there's a place, people think this is mad. We'll drive 30 minutes to go to this place called Lev's Delivery. It's a Caribbean takeaway. We'll drive 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back just to go there. So probably that.
Oh God, yeah. I could talk food all day.
Oh mate,
but it said talk to me about imposter syndrome.
Me too. Do you know what with the food thing? Especially since I've stopped drinking, it seems to have been what I've replaced it with. Where am I going to eat this weekend rather than where am I going to drink this weekend and what am I going to drink? And I like it though. I was talking to Leslie about this. I said I'm finding it a bit harder to lose weight. And I was thinking, well, it's not the worst thing to replace boozing with, is it? Do you
think most people got to have one vice and it's got to be booze or food or fat?
I think it's just something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Something different to look forward to. What am I going to do this weekend? How am I going to spend my time? How am I going to recover? How am I going to rest? How am I going to reward myself? So yeah, imposter syndrome. Yeah. I mean, it depends who's diagnosing you with it, innit? So for me, imposter syndrome, I kind of get it. Who made it up? Who invented it? Who diagnosed you with it? What cream do you take? Because it makes it... Here's the truth about imposter syndrome. The reason I've got such a problem with using that label and labeling yourself with it, because that's all you're doing, is I can't see how it empowers you. I'm all about empowering people so you create your life. Life doesn't happen to you. I'm a big believer in you're the creator of your life. And I can't see how labeling yourself with imposter syndrome can empower you at all. Whereas all you're essentially describing is a discomfort, a fear that you could get found out or someone then find you out, or a discomfort that you're going to get called out or criticised or something. So I'd rather label it as this is uncomfortable than I've got imposter syndrome. Like it sounds like a fucking disease.
So do you think people take security and like it almost takes the blame off them if they can put a label on something? Oh, this happened because of something outside.
Yeah,
of my
I think
control.
so. Oh, I'd love to do this, but I've got imposter syndrome. No, you're just fucking scared, mate. What you want is a guarantee. You don't have imposter syndrome. How do you have it? How do you catch it? Where did you catch it? Who did you catch it off? Who did you sleep with that gave you? Do you know what I'm saying? Like I get it.
Yeah.
And people think I've got no empathy, but I have, because listen, when you stand in front of a theatre of 1,000 people on a Friday night in Newcastle, there's a deep sense of discomfort there. Talking about mental health, talking about mindset, talking about stuff in it with that. There's a deep sense of discomfort there. I could say, oh, I felt imposter syndrome. No, I just felt really uncomfortable.
So
that's where growth is.
Do you feel fear ever then, or
All
do you
the
label
time.
it as discomfort?
All the time.
So how do you feel when because I saw you speak at Wembley, you've spoken on stage on your own shows. What's going through your mind when
Puerto Rico I spoke at.
Oh, with Gary V.
Yeah, with Gary V. That was difficult because I'm in Puerto Rico. No one's there to see me. No one. Only person who knew who I was in that crowd was the guy that organised the event. The guy that owned the event didn't even know who I was until 2 weeks before when I had a call with him.
And how did the crowd? Were they mostly American? How did they react? How did
All American.
react to Paul Mort?
£5,000 a ticket.
Did you tell the story about shitting on the beach?
I did not tell them the story about shitting on a beach.
Was it a more reserved Paul Mort then?
No, shorter.
Right.
I had less time. I had to frame it a little bit more because when people aren't there just to see you, you have to put in a bit of the backstory, which I actually don't like putting in too much of the backstory. So I went all in and I just had to say to them, look, I'm really uncomfortable here because, and I actually addressed imposter syndrome there. I said, here's the deal. None of you are here to see me. You're all here to see Gary V. I talk really fast and I've got a crazy accent. You might think I'm too confident. You might think I talk too fast. You might think I move around the stage too much. That's the way it is. Like, then I'm left with this position of, well, what are you going to say about me? What are you going to think about me that I haven't already said or thought about myself? That's, for me, how you become unfuckable. Like, that's just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could say I've got imposter syndrome. I can fucking deal with my insecurities. I just own them. I know I talk fast. I know I sound too confident sometimes. I know sometimes I say things before I've thought it through. I know sometimes I can offend people and upset people. I know that I've got an accent. I know I say fuck too much, but...
So I'd say in my game, in marketing, the biggest challenge we have with clients is helping them get over this perceived fear of what to say on social media, for example, of the fear of what someone else might say. Because obviously you come under fire a bit on socials. What kind of advice would you give to people who are like, they're too scared to post what they want to post to grow their business because of what someone might say?
There's a few things. A great question, Andy. For a few things, what's more important to you? Growing your business and putting clothes on your kids' backs. Growing your business and allowing your family to experience amazing things that you didn't get to experience. Growing your business and impacting more people, or your fucking comfort. Which one's more important?
I guess putting
I can't have both.
Family,
Here's the truth. The cost of admission. The cost of admission to success is criticism. Full stop. That you can't have success without criticism. You can't have praise without criticism. You can't have support without challenge. Do you get what I'm saying? You can't have wins without losses. You can't have a positive without a negative. You can't have an upside without a downside. You can't have a benefit without a drawback. Once you accept that, it's like, oh, well, it's not that bad. What's worse? You criticizing yourself for being a fucking pussy, right?
Yeah.
You criticizing yourself for not doing what you said you would. You criticizing yourself for not fulfilling your potential. I hate that I've said that. That's why I thought about it for a second. I was like, I wouldn't normally say that.
Right.
You criticizing yourself for not being a great example, being the example, or some random fucker criticizing you on the internet. I'll tell you what's worse. The shit that you say about yourself to yourself. It's way worse. Feels way worse. Some random, and again, two frames I could put this in for you as well. One, you're not the star of anybody else's movie. Everyone's like, I'm worried about what people think. I'm like, that's because you think you're the star of their movie.
Wow, yeah.
You're not the star of anybody else's movie. They are. You're not the center of anybody else's universe. And it's almost, this sounds weird. People think that people who have a lot of confidence need to get over themselves. It's actually the other way around. People with a lot of confidence have gotten over themselves. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Okay, yeah, that's right.
I've gotten over myself, so you can criticize me if you want. If you can't do the work because you're scared of criticism, you haven't actually gotten over yourself. You think you're the star of everybody else's movie. You think you're the center of everybody else's universe. You're not. And then, like I said, once you get criticized, it's not that bad.
So does anyone ever get through a chink in your armour?
Yeah.
Okay.
When they question my integrity.
Right, okay. And how do you deal with that? Or is it a case of not dealing with it, you just move on?
I'm gonna do a video about this soon, right? Because I ask people this all the time, because obviously I have people on my podcast who come under a lot of stress. In fact, a lot of criticism. I would say that it's part, again, I said that before, criticism is the cost of admission. Mm-hmm. You're not willing to pay the price, you're not getting in the theme park. You're not getting in. You're not getting into the stadium unless you pay the price. Full stop. You have to pay the price. You have to be willing to. If you're not willing to, you don't get the other side. You don't get in the stadium to watch the match. You can try and watch it on TV. You can watch everybody else doing it. You can watch everybody else in the stadium. You can play it on but you can't get in the stadium unless you're willing to pay the price.
Some people say that's unfair. They like using that label, that it's just not fair, and that's life.
It's not fair. It's not fair, but it's the reality, right? Yeah. It's not fair that if I can't afford to fly business class, that's not fair either. But it is what it is.
So do you think any of this stems from like things like stuff that's going on in schools now, where everyone gets a medal for taking part, you get celebrated for coming in 10th or whatever, or with this kind of entitlement, do you think that plays a part in this? Oh, that's not fair that I can't fly business class, or it's not fair that
a little bit
someone criticises me?
A little bit, I think it does. I think you've got this attitude of, and I get this, mate, we're talking about me getting criticised at 2 a.m. I'll get a message off somebody or a missed call off somebody on my Facebook, on my Instagram, and then suddenly they give me loads of shit saying that I don't even get back to people, and you say you care about people, but you don't. I'm like, mate, it's fucking 2 a.m.
Wow.
Now you're kicking off because I haven't got back to you. I'm fucking asleep, mate. Or I'm with my family. Mm-hmm. I put out hundreds of videos, loads of podcasts. I've got 3 books that you can have for free. I've got a course that you can have for free. I put on Q&As every week for free. Yet, you still think you're entitled for me to take time out of my life, take time away from my family, and be up in the middle of the night to answer your question, to drop everything for you.
I was going to talk about your phone, actually, because you're really good. When you go on holiday, I know you've just been to Dubai, you lock your phone away, don't you? Because it's such a tool that can increase productivity, but really hamper it as well. For me especially, I'm not the guy that is able to check his emails for an hour in the morning and then not think about them or go from them. So what's your average screen time in a day, do you reckon, at the moment?
Oh, it'll be 5 or 6 hours. Okay. Easy. I'm okay with that. Yeah. My productivity's, I would say 9 out of 10 right now, because I don't do shit that I hate. Productivity is never a problem when your day is full of high value, high priority activities that excite you. And again, I may make less money doing this, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with making a little bit less, only doing shit that I love.
Yeah, because I was listening to another podcast of yours where you talked about if you're having to do a task you really don't enjoy, you'll look to see, how can I bin this or get someone else to do it?
How can I bin it? How can I get somebody else to do it? And if I can't do either of those things, how can I link it emotionally to tasks that I do love doing? So I would have to do this with, listen, I don't like dieting. I don't like drinking fucking 7 litres of water a day. But I can link that, well, if I'm not willing to do that, then I don't get to compete at the weekend. It's the same as that, what I said about the criticism thing. If I'm not willing to do it, that's okay, but then I don't get the reward. So I can link, I always use this example. I hate doing PowerPoint slides. I actually hate doing most kinds of preparation. I just want to do the thing. I want to deliver the training. But I can link having great slides with putting on an even better training. So I get that shit done faster when I can either delegate it, and I delegate a lot of shit, particularly stuff that I don't like. Again, it might cost me more money, but I'm okay with that. It doesn't cost me my happiness or energy, though. Do you know what I mean? Or I can delete it, just be like, I'm not doing that. This LinkedIn thing's not for me. Can't delegate it because it's the time that it's happening is the time that I haven't got anyone that can do it.
So Gary V's a big LinkedIn
I've just deleted it. I've just deleted it.
Have you?
For now, I haven't deleted LinkedIn. I've just deleted the task of posting on there every day.
Right, okay. But obviously TikTok, talking to Mac earlier, TikTok's flying for you.
TikTok's flying. I think we're on 26,000 followers or something. We've got videos that have got 2 million views. Guess who does that? Not me. I don't even have the app.
So what's the thing you enjoy doing the most? Work related?
Speaking on the stage, where I'm a centre of attention. I get to show off. I get to tell stories. I get to make people laugh, and I get to inspire people and piss a few people off. That's my right up there as my highest value. Again, the downside of that though is that the travel, you're away from your family. Yeah.
But when I saw you talk at Wembley, it's quite fun. I had a Christian lady behind me. I know she was Christian because she kept announcing it all the way through.
Was she vegan as well?
It could have been.
I'm joking.
But she was, tutting quite a lot. And when Nick Jones introduced you and said, bit of a potty mouth, basically. In fact, my wife calls you potty mouth, Paul. I could hear her say, well, if he offends my Christian values, that won't be for me. And I was praying for you to tell the story when you were on the beach. But
which one?
The one where you were caught short in the morning.
Yeah. You know why I didn't do that? Because I've done that stage.
Okay.
That's maybe the 4th time I've spoke at Expert Empires, and I've done that one before.
But the water slide one you did, that was amazing with the goggles. The reaction to that, I mean, that was just
it's mad.
Brilliant. So have you got speaking gigs lined up for 2023?
I have got, first one I've actually just been booked by Beachbody, massive company, £500 million company.
Wow.
They have P90X, Insanity.
Sean T.
Sean T.
Oh, awesome.
So they booked me for January. I actually got a sick thing with them. They came to me, actually on the back of that event, so we saw you speak at Expert Empires, I'd love to hire you, we'd love to be the keynote of this. I was like, that's early January. And then I will be announcing a 2,000-seater theatre show.
2,000?
As well, yeah. Which is, yeah.
Well, I know everything you talk about, your speaking gigs, everything is linked to your goals, and that's how you get so much more accomplished than, I'd say, the average person. But I know journaling is obviously a big fundamental part of your program.
Yeah.
Sort of share with listeners why journaling is, and maybe the 5 Fs as well, why that's so powerful.
So journaling is the thing that I get asked about a lot because I talk about it so often. But the first thing I want to shift is that I mocked journaling for a long time. That's for hippies. Why would I want to write down what I think? But I wouldn't say that the journaling that I do and that I teach and that I preach and that I live isn't traditional journaling. It's not writing down your thoughts for the day. It's not writing down how today went, really. We do what I call prompted journaling, okay? So I'm big on this concept of where you place your attention is where you place your energy. Or what you're focused on will grow. Or you'll get what you're focused on. Most people wake up in the morning focused on the problems. Most people wake up in the morning with their attention on other people's lives. Most people wake up in the morning with their attention on all the things that they don't like about their life, all the things that they feel obliged to do that day. And I'm like, what if I could transform my energy by just choosing where to place my attention? So focus and attention is controlled by questions. So I ask questions in the frame of pointing my mind towards empowering thoughts, pointing my mind towards my future rather than my past, pointing my mind towards what I'm excited about rather than what I'm resenting having to do that day. And for me, that is the best start I can possibly have to my day. That whole, and again, it's just a decision. Where I place my attention is where I place my energy. What's amazing, Andy, this is amazing to me, still fascinates me, how you can change your body by thought alone. I can change the emotion I'm experiencing, how my body's feeling, by fucking thought alone. That blows my mind. And that starts with a question. We ask our brain a question. The frontal lobe looks for a reference. It starts to create chemicals in the brain. It sends them down the spinal cord to the hormonal centers. And the hormonal centers create a feeling. It's mad. If thoughts are the language of the brain, the mind, then feelings are the language of the body. And when you can get them talking to each other, it's amazing that. I can create the emotion. I can create emotions on demand. So that's what I practice every morning. And how do I want to feel? I want to feel inspired that day. I want to feel positive. I want to feel motivated. I want to feel excited. And all those feelings are fucking intoxicating. And they're not really this, but I would almost say that like you come into work in that state. You go into meetings in that state. You live most of your life. I don't feel like that all the time. I just wrote a post this morning saying when I wake up in the morning, I tend to feel like shite. I'm okay with that because I know how to change it in a fucking heartbeat by answering a couple of questions in my journal with integrity. So I plan that out. I'm reminding myself of my future, where I'm heading towards every day. It's like getting in. You think about this: if you're going into your day, and your day is like a journey, right? Your day is like a journey, and every day you get up. And let's just say you're going into your day and the taxi driver comes to pick you up. That's your attention. Taxi driver comes to pick you up and he says, where do you want to go? And your answer is not here. And you're just going to end up going round in fucking circles. It's going to be a draining day for you. You're going to get where you're going to end up by the end of the day. Exactly where you were yesterday. Going round in fucking circles. So for me, I'm telling that sat nav, I'm telling that taxi driver, here's where I want to go today. And then 9 times out of 10, I get there. And if I don't, that's okay too. It's fine. Yeah, it's a completely different feeling that. So that is the power of journal. I'm reminding myself of my future so that I can align my day with it, so that I can align my actions with it, so I can align how I feel about it with it, rather than what I would do otherwise. My attention has to go somewhere. Most people's attention is on the past. In fact, first thing in the morning, Andy, I believe that most people's attention is on other people's past. If I think about it like this, when people tell me I didn't fill my journaling this morning, I'm like, what did you do instead? And unless you're getting your dick sucked, or you're getting laid, or whatever it is, then for me, the only other thing that you're doing rather than journaling and putting your attention on your intentions is you're looking at somebody else's past. It's called a phone. That's what you're doing. Even if you're checking your emails, you're looking at somebody else's past. You're looking at Instagram, Facebook, you're looking at somebody else's past. That's not what I'm committed to. The first thing I do in the morning will tend to indicate what I'm actually committed to. And I'm committed to a vision of my future for all sorts of reasons. And the main reason being, because it fucking excites me.
Well, how you start your day dictates your day. That's one of the things we're always saying to the team. Why do you think it's taken me a bloody long time to realise you spend so much time going around in circles because you don't know where you're bloody going? And if you could identify that every single morning.
Here's what I think the challenge is, Andy. I get a lot of questions on my Instagram, my Facebook. And most of them are asking for directions. How? And that's great. I love doing that. I get to show off again, right? But people are asking for the directions before they know what the destination is. I'm like, I can't give you directions to an unknown destination. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Most people haven't even got an idea of what they're working towards. So when people ask me about journaling, I'm like, listen, do not journal for the sake of journaling. It needs to be linked emotionally to an outcome that juices the shit out of you. It needs to be linked emotionally to a mission that inspires you. If it's just journaling for the sake of journaling, it's like going to the gym for the sake of going to the gym. Fuck that. What do you end up doing? 10 minutes on the cross trainer, 10 minutes on the bike. Going fucking nowhere. Making no progress. And that's when my mind's happiest, when it sees progress. So I've got to teach it how to find progress, how to find magic moments, how to spot amazing things in the day. So yeah.
So because you talk about the 5 Fs, don't you?
Yeah.
That's a big part of the journey. Focus, fitness, family, finance, and fun. How did you sort of come up with them? And could you explain more about the magic moments fitting within them?
Yes, I can. Both of those things were stolen.
Right,
Let me tell you how it happened. In 2014, obviously I was at rock bottom. I'd actually, a lot of people don't know this, I went to Wake Up Warrior before I was rock bottom. It was actually after a trip to Wake Up Warrior. This has nothing to do with them, by the way. Didn't happen there, but it was actually when I got back from a trip to Wake Up Warrior that I was at rock bottom.
It's in California?
Yeah.
Right.
So I joined Wake Up Warrior in around about the July or August that year, and it was amazing. It woke me up. I was a one-dimensional douchebag. I built these incredible businesses that I never thought I'd be able to do. I was making a lot of money, had no purpose anymore though. Had sacrificed everything to get there. I'd made my first $1 million that year as well.
So on paper, do you think a lot of people thought you had it all at that
Oh,
point?
1,000,000%. On paper,
So
from the outside.
So what did you have? You were in Marbella?
I was in Marbella at the start of that year. I came home in the June that year because my daughter was born. I was diagnosed bipolar. I had a 2-year-old son. It was me, my wife. We didn't know anyone. So I struggled there. I had everything. 4-bedroom villa, private pool, 2 amazing kids, hot wife, amazing car. Probably doing about 30 grand a month profit from my businesses. There's 2 businesses that I had.
Working like 90-hour weeks or something, or
not 8-hour weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I built this company that was marketing, where I wrote these newsletters. That's how I met James Smith. He was in that business with me as a client. And then we had Lean Greens, which is a supplement company. Didn't require that much work because that's a numbers game. That's a Google ads, paid traffic to a website, buy the supplement, and we split the profit with my business partner. So I had it all. I mean, at that point, mate, fucking hell, that year I'd flew first class to Miami with Craig David.
Shit.
You know what I mean?
So what was it? Where did the unhappiness, want of a better word,
I was putting
start?
all that money up my nose.
Ah, okay, right.
Boozing, sniffing, arguing with people on the internet, not exercising, didn't have any of the tools that I had right now. And then I remember one day, I just moved back, and a guy called Darren Casey tagged me in something, and it was a video. And at this point, I was a little bit more open about my challenges. I mean, people could see me spending all day arguing with fucking idiots on the internet, just fighting with people, looking to feel something.
Right.
Looking to feel something, and I was bored. That's the problem. I was bored. I was either bored or burnt out, and those 2 places fucked me hard. So, this guy Darren Casey tagged me in a video, and he said, "Oh, Paul, this guy's just like you." And it was my friend now, Garrett J. White. And he was just talking about bipolar and depression in a way that I'd never heard it spoken of,
Right.
in a way that was aggressive and in your face and honest, actually, rather than the whole, I'd seen doctors and I'd seen shrinks and I'd seen psychologists and psychotherapy, all the ists. I'd seen all of the ists and nothing had made any difference. And I seen this video, I was like, this fucker's talking directly to me. Within 2 days, I gave him 10 grand and booked a flight to Laguna Beach, California. Here's the challenge that I had, actually. I'd learned all these tools and all these skills, and I learned about this concept of, well, essentially being a one-dimensional douchebag. I hadn't challenged myself in any area of my life. I hadn't looked to get a handle on any area of my life except my business for at least 5 years. At least 5 years. I was just obsessed with making money.
How was Leslie sort of coping with all this at the time?
She wasn't. She was.
Right.
She was. You got to think about this. She was raising a 2-year-old and a newborn, and putting up with my fucking tantrums. She's a fucking saint. When people say she deserves a medal, she does deserve a medal. When people say who inspires you, I'm like the woman who I'm married to. Full stop. Full stop. So she's struggling with this. Her mum's having to come out and stay with us regularly. I mean, I'm surprised she didn't leave me. I'm sure if she had the energy, she might have. I'm not even kidding.
Right.
Not even kidding. I was a fucking arsehole. So inside of Wake Up Warrior, I was like, okay, that's why I've done that. I started to figure out the why, and maybe I was trying my best and I didn't know any better. And obviously I've made mistakes and I've fucked up and I've been behaving like a dick. And then we learned about this concept of, he called it Core 4, which was body, being, balance and business. It's a little bit religious for me, but that's by the by. And I just learned about this concept of, why do we just focus on one area of our life at a time? What if the fitness area actually serves the finance area? What if your mindset actually serves your family? What if, well, if I'm not fit, what right have I got to tell my kids to exercise and eat well if I'm a fat, miserable cunt? Do you get what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
So it was all these concepts together, and the bit that I tied on at the end was the fun, because I'm like, what's the point in doing all of this if I'm miserable? What's the point in having a 6-pack, a 7-figure business and a hot wife and being all zen if I'm miserable and I don't have any fun? And I'm big on that shit. So yeah, that's how that whole F5 came about, and it's been revolutionary for me and for a lot of different people.
So how many people in your programs do you think over the years you've helped? I mean, was it
4,000?
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, are you okay to share maybe some of your quarterly goals in those 5
Yeah, of course.
Fs, sort of like what you, because you call them
I love to share. I love sharing them. I love sharing these goals.
Was Dubai one of them? Or do you
Dubai phone free was one of them. The challenge that I have with some of the fun goals, that I'm like, well, I'm going to have fun anyway. Let me have a piss and I'll tell you the rest.
Okay. Brilliant. Awesome.
All right, so let's start then, Andy, with I feel like I've taken over the interview. So I feel like,
What do you want to ask me? I went to Harlech in the summer. It's the Welsh Dubai, you know.
I love it. So let's start with this magic moments thing.
Okay.
So since 2016, I've been doing this thing that when I learned about was called the positive focus. And this is something that I learned in a program that I've actually, I'm in now, called Strategic Coach. I've been there a long time. Guy called Dan Sullivan. He's a fucking genius. And he did this thing, and he handed out this little booklet, and they said, every day for 21 days, just write down 3 wins that you had that day. Why it was positive and how you can make further progress on it. And I've done that 95% consistency since 2016. That's part of the reason why I'm so confident. It's part of the reason why I have so much self-belief. It's part of the reason why doubting myself, I'm okay with it. Because I'm like, fucking hell, if you imagine writing down 3 little things every day that you've done really well for 6 years. You think you'd have some confidence?
God, because I know when I came to see you last week with a group of guys, and we were talking about how long it takes for something to become a habit, whether it's giving up drinking or whatever. And so things like journaling, writing down your wins, you do it repeatedly. I mean,
Tell you how long it takes? Forever. It does.
Still work in
Habits
progress.
take forever. Habits take until you don't have to think about it. I still have to think about writing it down because I've got to remember. I've got to remember to fill in my journal. So it's still not a habit. You get what I'm saying? It's because a habit is something that doesn't take any conscious thinking.
Right, okay.
Journaling for me still takes a conscious thought because obviously I've got to pick it up and I've got to do it. Now it's almost, I would say it's almost there, but it's probably never going to be almost there because I've got to physically do it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not unconscious. It's still a conscious decision to fill it in. So that was the first step that I learned in writing these wins down. And then Tony Robbins talks about these things called magic moments. And these are just the things that are like extra wins, things that you want to remember, things that you mentally, and you can do it on your phone these days, want to take a picture of. Things that when you think about them and when you talk about them, you get goosebumps. Now imagine training your brain to do that. So I train my brain to look for magic moments. That's why I still journal on holiday. Because there's a difference between saying I had a great holiday and then saying, well, let me tell you about 5 amazing things I did on this holiday.
I was just going to ask whether you journal.
5 amazing things I remember I do.
Wow.
For part of this reason. Let me tell you about 5 amazing things that's happened on my holiday. One of them was one day we lied about the kid's age, had Mac doctor a few documents so they could go on the zip slide, which is basically where you jump off a fucking 50-story building head first and fly over the marina. That was incredible. That's better than me coming back and saying, oh yeah, I had a nice holiday. See the difference there?
Yeah,
I can create a picture in my mind. When I create that picture in my mind, I start to get the feelings. When I say I had a nice holiday, it's like, Do you know what I mean? But when I train my brain to look for these magic moments, guess what it wants to do? It wants to find more of them. Because my body wants more of that emotion, right? It's why when you get anxious or worry about something, you'll start a negativity stack. Mm-hmm. You'll start to stack up all the negativity. You'll start to because your body becomes addicted to these hormones. Your body becomes addicted to hormones. Why it's so easy. I want my body to become addicted to more of these positive hormones. So I'm like, I want my brain to look for things. And fucking hell, that's amazing.
So do your kids ask what you're doing when you're journaling, or are they journaling themselves?
All the time.
Already?
They're not journaling. I wouldn't force them on it. I learned quite early on as a dad, with my son in particular, that forcing your kids to do things makes them resented.
Just lead by example.
Keep it in their peripheral vision. So I learned this the hard way. I didn't know, but I actually had a conversation about this with my friend Andy yesterday. I did a couple of rounds with him rolling. He's actually taking care of my nutrition right now, Andy. He's got kids, 3 kids. Some one older and 2 a little bit younger. And I was saying that he was saying, is Max still training jiu-jitsu? I was like, no, Max started training jiu-jitsu when he was 6, trained until he was about 9, now hates it. Because I kept forcing him to go when he didn't want to go. I kept pushing him to go. I kept banging on about it all the time. I push him into tournaments and that. Now, he's same with football, because I love these things. And I was like, why doesn't he love the things that I love? The reality is he's different to me. So I try to force him to do it. With Nina, I don't force her to go. And it's totally different now. She doesn't want to go. I mean, fucking hell, Saturday night we went to a jiu-jitsu, like a jiu-jitsu show where it was 15-minute matches. It was amazing. Nina absolutely loved it. So my friend said, just keep it in their vision. You keep doing it and they might come back to it. If they don't, they don't. But then they were like, I'm sure you did things when you were younger, Paul, that you don't do anymore. I'm like, well, I do things now. I've done things in the last few years that I don't do anymore. So I'm totally cool with it. But my kids, Nina's funny, you know. On a night time, she'll sometimes sit with me. In the morning, they're doing their own shit. Mm-hmm. They're doing their own thing. I'm up before them anyway. On a night time, sometimes she'll sit with me while I'm filming it in. She'll take the piss out of me. She'll go, Dad, what's your biggest take home today? Dad, what was your biggest take? She'll take the piss out of me. Dad, she'll go, and what was your biggest take home today? Like in that voice. What was your biggest take home? But they just see me doing it.
So when it comes to kids then, where would you draw the line between sort of encourage them to find out what their interests are and letting them sort of give up on stuff maybe too easily, so that before they've had a chance to really get
it's
the
hard.
benefits of it?
It's a great question, that, Andy, because what I've found with both of them is that they'd rather just sit on their phones and watch YouTube. Mm-hmm. That's what they'd rather do.
They're on TikTok all the time.
Guess what? I'd probably rather do that most of the time as well. Would you not?
I think if I'd grown up in their age, I'd be on my phone all the time. It just wasn't around when I was a kid.
Because it's fun, it's easy. I just find that if I show interest in what they're interested in, they become even more interested. So my son, if he's into my son's into stand-up comedy. It's a bit of a nightmare because he's only 12.
Oh, right, okay.
You went no, he's only 11.
Did he come see Ricky Gervais with you?
No.
Is that adults? Well, 18 plus, is it? Yeah.
That's definitely over 18.
Really?
It was very inappropriate. I loved it. That's what made it so. People was like, what it was like. I was probably the most offensive show I've ever been to.
So I love it's great. You
and that's why it was so good.
I found it funny.
Yeah.
That's why I'm happy that
Yeah, that's why it's amazing. It's amazing. So he's been to see Chris Ramsey. Tonight we're going to see Russell Kane, actually.
Oh, Russell, brilliant.
Just because I know those people, so I can sneak him in the back door. But if he's into that, I'll just ask him questions about it and he'll start to get even more into it. Rugby, I'm buzzing that he's found rugby. He fucking loves it. And it's because part of him liked jiu-jitsu, but he didn't like... Jiu-jitsu's a funny thing because you do a lot of drilling. Mm-hmm. Drilling's a bit boring.
Repetitive.
Yeah. He liked the sparring, but you don't really get any better sparring. So in rugby, he gets to fucking lift people. You know what I mean? He gets to tackle people. Yeah. Which was his favourite part of jiu-jitsu. With the other stuff, running with the ball, you're always involved in some way. It's not boring.
So do most of your magic moments involve the family? Is that going
Almost all of them?
Yeah.
Almost. I have my own stuff. Like for this year, let me give you a couple of examples. I went to see Roma play with my friend Mike Lewis. That was incredible. That was a magic moment. I trained jiu-jitsu in a church in Italy, which was mad. My kids weren't there. But a lot of the time it will involve other people. Right. And particularly my kids. I was saying yesterday, it's weird. There's loads of things that I want to do, but I'm like, my kids aren't old enough to do it yet. So my friend, I'll probably end up getting them in.
Let's just sort their ideas.
My friend Ty runs this massive event called Something Sand. It's a massive event down south. You'll know what it is. Anyway, it's a massive event. They've got Craig David on as the headline act. And I'm like, I really want to take my kids to it, but you have to be 18.
Yeah, how on earth were you on a jet with Craig David, by the way? You dropped that in casually earlier on. I was like, what
I was going to do a consult in Miami, and I flew first class. There was a good deal on it. Craig David was first class, and he was really cool. And it was right before he made his comeback. So remember, he made a comeback, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he's popular again now. It was right then. So I was like, is that from Craig David? And I was scared to go over and ask him. So I tweeted, if you saw Craig David, what would you do? And then he replied to me tweet saying he'd come and say hello. And then I went over and got a photo taken with him, chatted with him. It was awesome.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was awesome. Brilliant. And then since then, my kids love Craig David as well. But things like that, even I saw something yesterday that was like a festival, and I was like, oh, I'd love to go there with my kids, but they're not 18. Does me head in. Yeah, so I try and get them, even Michelin star restaurants. I mean, I like my time with Leslie, and I love one-to-one time, but I'd love it if the kids could come here. Like, I'm never thinking, oh, what can I do without me kids? And it sounds really cheesy, but I like hanging out with them. Sure, I like me time away from them as well. It's like it's probably one of the reasons I love jiu-jitsu. But even then, if they want to come and watch, they'll come and watch. My son's very excited for the weekend because I could be fighting Tom Hardy.
Oh shit! Of course,
he's in my division.
So, I mean,
he's in my division,
right? Okay.
He's in my division, which is because the problem I've got now is because I'm over 40. There's not many people over 40 doing jiu-jitsu who are blue belt, who are 79 kilos. But there's 10 people in the division on Saturday, so I'm very excited.
See, when I used to compete, I never wanted my wife and kids to come.
Really?
I was always too scared. I always thought, what if I lose in front of my kids?
Yeah.
It was.
I'm a little bit like that, but I don't take it as seriously as most people. I'm like, I do jiu-jitsu because it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. I'm just like, if I don't win, I've been through way worse shit than losing a jiu-jitsu match in front of me kids. Do you know what I mean? In fact, I've lost in front of them before. I got choked once, and then I got disqualified. The thought was amazing that I got
what did you get disqualified
guy
for?
put an armbar on. It was 2019. This guy put an armbar on, and I picked him up and slammed him on his head.
Oh, right.
I just stood up, and he kept holding me arm, and then I went back down on my knees and dropped them, and you're not allowed to do that. So the kids thought that was amazing.
You know, my first ever fight, I was at the side of the mat, and the guy opposite me, my opponent, he was doing his gi up, but it was open, so I could see he was ripped, six-pack and everything. And a phrase I always say, even now, is that he beat me before he got on the mat. Because he looked the business. I let him put me off, and that confidence.
Do you know what, mate? I'll get really nervous on Saturday.
Do you get
I'll get more nervous on Saturday than I will for anything else because it's not just me.
How are you in, say sporting? What about business situations where, I don't know, some big, like Gary V walks into the room? How do you handle that kind of rush, like, you know, in terms of, oh, shit, you know? I was going to say imposter syndrome now, but I can't say
Do you know what now? I don't get it at all.
Wow.
Because from hanging out with a lot of these people, I realised that they're just human. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Tyson Fury, I wasn't that starstruck. It's mad that, isn't it? It's weird, isn't it?
So you think, well, the Paul Mort 10 years ago, we thought like hanging out with...
I'm just like...
Wow.
It's just because I've spent a lot of time in the company, been lucky enough to do that, and obviously I've created that as well. Mm-hmm. I'm in these masterminds with people that are further ahead than me, and one thing I know from spending time with these people is they're not... I mean, I'm not saying they're not special, but I'm saying they're just human. They're just human. There's no... Often the difference is that they started before me and have been doing it longer than me. That's often the difference. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've just spent more time on the mats, been to more classes. So that's quite a big breakthrough. And this is why I bring my kids to a lot of events. I mean, my son's met Tyson. They spent a lot of time with James Smith and people like that. And obviously they'll meet Russell, and they've met Chris Ramsey, and they've met these successful people because I also want them to think that this is just normal. Because when I was a kid, mate, in South Shields, you'd look at these people like superheroes, like superhuman. I could never do that. When I've spent time with these people, I'm like, actually, it's not that big a deal. What we sometimes think is impossible, when you spend time with these people, you're like, well, actually, if he can do it, he's not that different to me.
Gosh, I think if I met Gary V, I'd probably just
it's
speak
mad,
or
isn't
something.
it?
Was he a good bloke?
I had him on my podcast in 2014. I bet you didn't know that.
You what, sorry?
I had him on my podcast in 2014.
No, I didn't know that. Shit.
I
have to
2014.
dig out that episode.
It's still in some archive somewhere.
Wow.
Yeah, it was mad.
You mentioned James Smith a couple of times. Probably my favourite podcast episodes. I think you've done two or three with him. Obviously he's got his Australian residency now.
I hate it when he's in Australia.
Have you done Australia?
No.
Is that on your list, or just too far, too long?
It'll be on my list in the next couple of years, but I would have to go for a month, and I'll have to go in there summer.
Right.
The challenge that we've got right now is kids. Mm-hmm. For us to go on a month holiday wouldn't be that big a deal, but it would be in the summer holidays.
Course, yeah.
So I would. That's not when I would go to Australia. I would also want to get paid for going there.
Nice. And of course, you're speaking at IFS in Brighton.
Speaking at IFS in Brighton, which is mad.
Got my tickets for that.
That'll be sick. Right. That'll be sick.
So is fitness still a massive? Because you spoke at Gordon Bircham's events as well. So
yeah, I did.
You speak at a lot of fitness events, don't you?
Yeah, just because, and it's a weird thing because everyone's like, because of my background, I was in the fitness marketing game and I was a PT for ages, and because I've worked with some of the most prominent people in that industry, I've got a bit of a legacy there. So even now, there are many people that think, oh, well, I'm not in the fitness industry, can I join your program? I'm like, what makes you think I'm in the fitness industry? And it's just because I have a bit of a legacy there. Now we're starting to see, in my business, I'm starting to see a shift from less fitness people to more everyday people. Like, for example, Elite X upstairs, we've went from, let's just say we had 20 guys in there, 10 of them being fitness guys to 2.
Okay. And also you're coaching a lot more women these days, is that right?
Coaching a lot more women, mate. I love it. Yeah.
So if I was to, one thing I maybe should have asked at the beginning, the 3 W's I usually do. What do you do, who for, and why? Who is the who now?
So the who is anybody that is willing to step up and get their shit together.
Got business owner?
Not necessarily. Okay. No. For a long time, it was I work with married businessmen who need to get their shit together. And then in 2020, especially, more eyes started to come towards me because of lockdown, because of the skills that I've got, because of the tools that I've got, because of the book deal. I basically got bullied into coaching women. My profile grew a little bit. And I know about niches, and I know the riches are in the niches, like the Americans say. But right now, I've got the skill set and the tools and the strategies to help anybody.
Because there's a lot of pressure, I think, now to have a niche. We tried, it just didn't work for us. Do you think you need a niche?
I think it depends. Here's what I think. I think the smaller your geographic, the wider your demographic can be. So, for example, if it's a local business, I don't think a niche matters.
Okay.
If you're a worldwide, if your geographic's wide, I think it's helpful. If your demographic's a bit smaller, but I also think you've got to consider, and that's just because you'll blend in with a lot of companies who will crush you when it comes to ad spend. But I also think that often your niche is you.
Yeah.
I'm very aware that my niche is me. You can, and you'll have seen this, Andy. People try and steal my shit. They'll steal my fucking hell. There's people who've ripped off my entire journal.
How many things I've seen called Unstoppable now?
And passed it off as their own, yeah. And the thing is, like I say, I'm my niche. I'm unique. I'm not saying I'm fucking special, but I have a delivery style that's different. Mm-hmm. It's not even different. Sure. It's just me. Yeah. Have delivery style that's different. I'm consistent as fuck. So I would say I'm my niche. People either want to work with me or they don't. And again, I'm okay with either. So yeah, I would say that I'm my niche. I think that a niche is important depending on what you're selling and who to. If it's selling something that's generic to lots of different people, then you're going to blend in a little bit. So that's where you would have to either hone in who you're targeting, or you would have to become a who that's very special and different and unique.
Yeah,
I get what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally get that. Because some people might say there are certain characters who are divisive in their marketing, but you're so authentic. You're probably the most real.
We think about Smith for an example. Smith works with anybody who's fat.
Yep.
But he's his niche.
Yeah.
Can you see?
The sort of wrong type of person certainly isn't going to appeal to.
Yes, exactly. So he's his niche rather than the niche being his niche.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what would you sort of say to people who? Because I see a lot of people now putting out content, and it's people I know, and it's just so inauthentic. They're just trying to play the game.
Yeah.
Do you think those people will just get found out? And what would be a better solution for them in terms of how do I get people to stop the scroll but still be inauthentic?
It's a great question. So inauthenticity, and I actually don't like the word authentic. It makes me feel sick, the same as manifesting and all that shit, right?
Oh, manifesting.
Just makes me feel a bit bleh.
Gonna manifest my millions.
Most people don't even know what authentic is, right? They think it's just being yourself. Authenticity is just the absence of inauthenticity. Inauthenticity is just covering up your insecurities and your imperfections. That's it.
Wow.
So that's all it is. Inauthenticity is trying to hide your imperfections and cover up your insecurities and just trying to be something else. So if you want to be authentic, here's the thing. Here's when you'll find out whether those people can handle it or not. When people start pointing out their imperfections.
Oh, right.
When people start pointing out their insecurities, which people do to me. Well, they try to, but that's why it won't affect me because I've already done it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So every now and then you'll bite on social. Won't
Yeah, always when you question my integrity. If you question my integrity, you're going to get it. Or if it gets personal, I'm probably going to give you it as well. But we missed this part, or I missed this part when we're like, what's the best way to deal with it? I'm like, depending on how I feel on that day is how I'll deal with it. If I'm tired, you're going to get it. But if it's just a comment about the content and you disagree with my opinion, I'm not bothered. If you want to dig at my accent or how fast I talk or if I'm annoying, that's always a compliment to me. I'm like, oh, thank you for noticing. You're really annoying. I'm like, thank you. I try hard. Do you know what I mean? Oh, your confidence is ridiculous. I'm like, thank you so much. Your confidence is, you're so arrogant. I'm like, thank you for noticing. I've been working hard on that in the background. But if it's like, if it's something like this, is the one that annoys me the most. You're just preying on weak people.
Oh, right.
I'm like, come to my event next Friday and tell those 150 blokes in that room that they're weak. Every single one of them and put you to fucking sleep, mate. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or something like that. I'm like, mate, have you missed the... People comment on stuff that I give away for free and saying, this is a disgrace, you're just ripping people off. I'm like, how can I rip people off? This is a scam. It's free. How can it be a fucking scam?
Yeah.
I'm not asking for credit card details. And then I'm like, and that's just a bit that pisses off the most. I'm like, mate, I'm doing hundreds of videos. I've got all this free shit. If you can't pay for it, that's not my problem. The only thing I sell is me fucking time. Is me time and me expertise. I give away a lot of shit for free. That's the only shit that triggers us a little bit because it's my integrity, and that's the one thing that I'm like, you're not questioning that. Or if you say anything about my wife and kids, I'm gonna have you. But the rest of the time, I'm cool with it. But yeah.
Brilliant. If you come back to the 5 Fs, I've got a quote here from Leslie, because I was talking to Leslie about Dubai, where you went in the summer, and she said, whenever I go to Dubai, it always expands my mind to what is possible wealth-wise.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I mean, is that a magic moment for you? What other magic moments do you have? What's 2023 look like for Paul Mort? So
2023, I'll tell you on the 2nd of January. Because I'm still working on this year, Andy. Okay. I'm still working on this year. Dubai is always a place that I love to go to in the winter because it's a 6-hour flight. The flights aren't that expensive. You're guaranteed hot weather. And like I say, it always expands your mind in terms of what's possible wealth-wise. Like when I'm staying in the Atlantis, here's an interesting thing that I thought this time. I was doing something in Dubai. What the fuck was it? It might have been that skydive thing. It might have been when we get to go to the front of the queue and all the rides in the Atlantis because we get in the hotel guests before anyone else. On the last day, we always go to the water park when it opens for the hotel people because we get to go one ride that you might queue for 3 hours for. In 20 minutes, you'll get to go on it 3 times. And I had a thought there was, you know what, this is the shit that makes getting the criticism well worth it. This kind of shit, it allows me to allow my kids to do this. It allows me to go and experience things. So Dubai's always a magic moment for me, but 2023, mate, I haven't even considered it too much. We'll get a book deal done. I'll get a paperback book deal over the line. In fact, I had an email when I went for a piss there.
Really?
From a guy that's going to be helping me write the book. He's listening to my last audiobook right now. He's keen as fuck. He's done books with Tyson Fury, James Haskell, Ollie Ollerton. He's working with John Fury at the minute. So he's worked with a lot of these people that I respect. So he's going to be helping me with his next book. So that'll be something that one of my targets for next year. So that really the theatre and the book are my 2 main goals for next year. Holiday wise, I've already got them all booked.
Oh right, okay. Because it's weird. Thing we're seeing a lot at the moment is like, Andy, speak to me about marketing in the new year, speak to me in the new year. But I know you did a good post about, the new year will never come. Yeah,
because
it's same shit you've been putting off.
The stuff that we're putting off until after Christmas is the same stuff we've been putting off since January. I'm going to have a chill break, mate. I'll go to Thailand on the 26th. I'll not turn my phone on until the new year now. Probably until the 3rd or the 4th of January. And I'm okay with that. I'll say Happy New Year to people on the 4th of January. I'm cool with that. And obviously my wife has a phone. But here's the cool thing about this, mate. It actually made me better at business doing this because think about the level of organization and delegation that you must have in order to be able to do that. So it's not about bragging that I can do it. It's like, actually, I have to work very hard in that week leading up to it because I have to be organized. I have to make sure all the emails are plugged in. I have to make sure all of my team are clear on what's required. I have to let go of control. I have to let go of the need to control.
Oh, don't.
I can't get... And it would be easy to say, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'll just check my emails for an hour each day. But I'm not going to do it. I can't be with my kids and strangers on the other side of a screen at the same time. I'm either on holiday or I'm working. The bit in between is the bit that fucks with people.
That's
The bit in between, that grey area, that shit zone. You're not quite on holiday. You're not quite switching off, but you're not quite switched on either.
It took my 8-year-old daughter to point that out to me a few years ago when I said, listen, Holly, I spend loads of time with you. She goes, no, you don't, Dad, because you're always on your phone. And I was like, fuck, that was just a massive truth bomb there. Because it's about not just the quantity of time, but the quality.
Yeah.
And I think so many people, they think, I'm spending loads of time with my partner and kids. Like, are you, or are you just there on your laptop, on your phone, doing deals?
Yeah, that's the hardest part about going to a Michelin star restaurant is I want to take a photo of every meal. Every bite, I'm like, let's take a photo of that, take a photo of that, and then we'll have to put the phones in Leslie's handbag in between courses.
and how do you manage with your kids? You mentioned they're on TikTok and YouTube all the time. What are they like with their phones then? Do you have any sort of rules, guidelines? Or
Here's what you got to think about, right? We don't have any rules or guidelines. No phones at the dinner table. No phones at the cinema. No phones if you've been an arsehole.
How often do you sit down and have like dinner together?
Not that often.
Okay.
But just times all over the place. Like, I'm not eating dinner till fucking 8 o'clock most nights. Leslie's normally had hers by the time we get in, but it's at least, I'll say twice a week. Twice a week dinner, once a week lunch, once a week breakfast normally as well. But what you got to consider is if you want your kids to not be on their phone, like what are they going to do instead?
Mm-hmm.
Watch some shit that you don't want to watch. You're on your phone, so why shouldn't they be? It's a really weird thing. Someone said to me the other week, Paul, I'm sitting at home with my wife on a night and she's just on her phone the whole time. I'm like, well, if she gives up her phone, what's there for her? Oh, watching England against Wales. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying though?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, if I want to stop looking at my phone, there's got to be something worth stop looking at it for. It's the same with your kids. So I don't expect them not to be on it when there's nothing else that's going to hold their attention. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the conversation at the table has got to be a good conversation, rather than just fucking fork scraping across a plate.
So back to the quality of time.
Yeah.
So what's an average day look like for Paul Mort then?
Ooh,
Right now.
Fuck average. But my days are actually, do you know what's mad, Andy? I'm a big fan. Many people love rigidity and routine. Mm-hmm. I actually don't. I don't value it. And I think it comes from when I spent 4 years of my life hating my life as an apprentice, where I'd have to get up at the same time every day, have the same breakfast every day, get picked up at the same time every day, clock in at the same time every day, have a morning break at the same time every day, lunch at the finish. And 4 years of my life hating that is probably what created this void for me in terms of freedom. Okay. I felt like I had no freedom. I felt like my life had been, because I left school and went straight into that. And I felt like my life had been taken away from me.
Some people like that.
They love that routine.
Security, don't they?
There's one guy, there's a lad called Chris, who I started my apprenticeship with when I was 16. I was 16, 26 years ago, right? This guy, Chris, had a ham and peas pudding sandwich, a Mars bar and a can of Coke every day.
Every single day?
For the 4 years I was there, right?
Shit.
I bumped into someone last week at the match who still works there. Chris is still there 26 years later, has the same sandwich, the same Mars bar and the same can of Coke every day. Loves it.
Wow.
That's not for me. So I value variety and I actually value uncertainty, which is why I keep challenging myself. And again, he values certainty, which is fine. Yeah. This is also why people stay in relationships and jobs that they hate, because they love certainty so much. They might not like it, but at least it's predictable. At least it's familiar.
So you're not a fully paid up member of the 5 a.m. club, anything like that?
The only time I'm getting up at 5 a.m. is if I'm going on holiday. I'm not even kidding. The only time I'm getting up is if I'm going on holiday. I get up at 6 most days, sometimes a little bit later. Today I got up a little bit later. Trained hard yesterday, and we're traveling tonight. So, but my morning ritual is very similar. Meditate, journal, cold shower, so I meditate and journal. Those are my first two things. I'll do something to drum up business, post, email. Then I'll either sauna and cold shower, sauna, ice bath, or I'll ice bath, then walk to the office.
So do you want to say more about the meditation? Because you mentioned about journaling, like you were a skeptic. I was a skeptic as well, and it took me 3 months before I was like, I see what Paul's going on about now. Maybe the same with meditation. A lot of people
meditation, I was even worse, taking the piss out of.
Chanting in the forest naked.
Yeah, chanting in the forest naked, rubbing oil on your nipples, sit with your legs crossed. Like sit with your legs crossed, going emptying your mind, all bullshit.
So who opened your mind to it? Was it Garrett White then?
Garrett White pointed me into the direction of something called Ascension Meditation that he'd done with the Ashaya monks.
Right.
Then I went what I tend to do is I'll pick something up, and if I like it, I'll go down the rabbit hole.
Right.
And I went down the rabbit hole with this. I ended up studying with these Shire monks. I ended up becoming friends with one of them. He's been on my podcast, Arjuna.
Yes, listen to that.
He's been in and done loads of training for guys in my programs. In fact, I must have sent 100 people his way to do retreats with Arjuna. So that opened me into that, and then I fancied changing it. I want to learn more. I then did transcendental meditation, got a bit from that, liked the ascension better, and then I was turned on to this guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
So what's the difference between transcendental and ascension meditation?
Nothing.
Oh, right, okay.
Nothing. They're both the same. They just have different mantras or different, they call them, in ascension, it's called, they're called attitudes. So you get 4 statements that you say to yourself mentally. In transcendental meditation, they give you 1. And it's just a word. That's like a Sanskrit word. You're not allowed to share it.
What, just to keep focusing on, to stop your mind
so you
wandering?
come back to the word.
Blimey.
You come back to the word. You come back to the word. And then in 2018, I was turning on to this guy, Joe Dispenza. I didn't really like it. I was like, it's not for me. He's talking about fucking quantum physics and that. I'm like, it's a bit too much for me. Then I heard a podcast of his with, I think it was someone like Lewis Howes, I think. And I heard a podcast. I was like, oh, shit, this guy's good. And then I watched a series of his on a channel called Gaia. It's on Amazon Prime.
Right.
Prime Video. And I watched the series. I was like, fuck me. This is unbelievable. And then in January, I made a commitment. Right, I'm going to learn from this guy. And he had a course called The Formula. It's a 12-module course. And I was like, it's mad this. All my programs are online. But I really struggle to do online courses. I just get distracted. There's not a set time to do it, etc., etc. So I thought, right, every Sunday, I'm going to do one of these trainings. First one was incredible. It was like 20 minutes of learning with a 20-minute meditation at the end. Who can't do that? So it was like quite practical as well. I'd finished the whole 12 weeks in 8 days.
Right. You're like, all in or nothing, right?
This is for me.
Have you signed up to stuff and not done?
This is,
yeah.
Mate, not even kidding. Hundreds of thousands of pounds worth.
Oh, right. Okay.
Hundreds of thousands. Jiu-jitsu stuff I'm the worst with. In fact, I bought a jiu-jitsu one the other week, a half-guard thing. I haven't even logged in at all. I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is.
Instagram ads.
Maybe it's because it's like 30 quid. Whereas Dispenza stuff is more expensive. So anyway, I did that and I was like, how can I get more from this guy? I tend to go all in. Mm-hmm. If I read a book that I like, I'm like, how can I learn more from this guy? What can I buy? How can I get coached from him? What workshops does he have? What else does he have? So he had this 7-day retreat in London. I went to it and it blew me fucking mind, mate.
Shit, 7 days?
Blew me mind. Right, 7 days, $3,000 a ticket, 2,700 people there. Shit. 7 million quid. Did a week with him, and then I was lucky enough to meet him, his head trainer. And then I did a 2-day course with her on the educational side of it. She's actually delivering our Alliance online workshop. She's doing a keynote, which will be sick. Fantastic. So yeah, it was game changing for me.
So do you meditate when you're on holiday? So it's you journal on holiday every single day. Same with meditation. It's a non-negotiable.
Twice.
Okay.
Why would I not?
So are those the 2 non-negotiables?
2 non-negotiables, and some kind of exercise.
And where would you say is a good place? People who've never done any meditation, where would you say is a good place for them to start, or does it depend on the person? Anywhere.
I think guided meditation is fine. I think guided meditation is fine. The Calm app, the Mind, the whatever app you want to use that app.
So even if it's like Calm, Headspace.
2 things you got to do with meditation is understand that it's not about emptying your mind, and 2, I actually have figured out that if I go into a meditation with an intention, it goes way better. If my intention is just to make it through the 15, 20 minutes, I struggle. But my intention, I'll go in slightly different. And I think just commit to it. And you got to think about this. Meditation is one of the most tested, scientifically tested and scientifically proven methods of experiencing more happiness in your life. Full stop.
And you say like the physical exercise that you do, that's also linked to your mental well-being as well.
Oh, 100%. Mental health needs physical support. There's no other way around it. Right. Think about this, Andy. This is the way that I look at it. If you experience emotions in your body, emotions are the language of the body. So if you experience emotions and feelings through your body and you want to experience less negative emotions, why would you keep treating your body like shit?
Just amazing. You posted a picture the other day and it was you in 2014 compared to now. And it's like you fucking Benjamin Button. You've like de-aged.
It's mad. It's mad that.
So
it's mad that. I didn't even do that picture. One of my friends did that picture.
I did it.
Basically, I did a talk. I did a keynote for his business.
Right.
The members of his business. I did one in 2014. I went back on last week and he was like, mate, I've got a picture from the last time you did this talk. I was like, Jesus Christ, yeah.
Hell,
imagine me with my shirt off.
And for you, obviously, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's a big one for you. Any
the 2
other
things
exercise?
What changed my life with exercise was, you got to consider, mate, I was a PT. I was a PT. Cool, yeah. I know how to get in shape. In 2014, mate, I had access to some of the best trainers in the world. Best trainers in the world write me programs. I just couldn't do them. And then I discovered boxing. In 2015, 2016, I discovered boxing. I got back in the training, lost a bit of weight training, but never really liked it. Picking things up and putting them back down just doesn't do it for me. I don't find it stimulating.
Okay.
I don't find it interesting. I don't find it exciting. I don't get inspired to do it. I like the results of it though. My body still needs it. My body responds very well to weight training actually. But I discovered boxing. Boxing made me feel alive. Back in 2015, mate, I was still doing lines off my desk in the middle of the day, not even boozing. I was doing lines of coke before going on a webinar just to feel something. Because I was still on lithium back then. This is the bipolar medication.
Right, okay.
Made me feel horrendous. And one day my friend said, hey, I've just done the boxercise qualification. I actually know Andy that owns boxercise. I said, mate, I'll get you on this course. Did the course. Said, mate, can I take you on the pads? Took me on the pads. He said, after a few weeks, he was like, do you want to spar? Like, all right, punch me in the face. I was like, fuck yeah, this is a bit for me.
Right.
This is for me. Made me feel alive. And then I boxed for ages, and then I discovered jiu-jitsu, and I was like, yeah, this is for me. Addicted. I've got the bug. Yeah, I've got the bug. Yeah.
And what it is...
I can walk. I like walking. I get walking all the time. I've done a bunch of yomps. We did. Me and the kids have done Old Man of Coniston this year, and we did...
we obviously did the fan dance.
Did the fan dance. What's the other one? What's the one that... We did a big one this year as well. Name a mountain.
Done Snowdonia?
No.
So Scaffold Pike?
Scaffold Pike.
Never done
my
that
kids
one.
did that.
Fan dance. Holy shit.
My kids didn't get what the fuss was about with Scaffold Pike.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nina was a bit gas, but she's only little.
Taken to Penny Fan.
Max was like, Yeah, I'm never going back to Penny Fan.
I've done some physical things before, but the fan dance, amazing.
So you got to remember that one I didn't do it with weight all the second time because I was injured. Yeah. That same injury that I had for that, the same thing, my friend broke his leg Saturday night with that same thing. Heel hook.
Right, okay,
my friend snapped his leg, snapped his tibia and fibia. I've never heard a noise like it Saturday night. Yeah, so I'd hurt my knee for that one. I still got through it, but the first time I did that was 2018, I think, with Ollie. No, it wasn't with Ollie actually. It was with a Special Forces company. That is no joke. That.
Yeah, but I mean, turning up for that, because obviously there are a few people that, the various injuries started coming up during training.
Yeah,
people started dropping off. You're like, oh, right, okay, yeah. And then some people didn't turn up, and you're like,
and then you've got Tyler Saunders doing it with one fucking leg.
I know, I saw him.
You've got Lee Webb doing it with fucking cancer, and you've got somebody saying, "I've got a sore toe." That was a big wake-up call for a lot of people, I think.
I had to run the last mile to get to the halfway checkpoint time. Yeah. And this guy said to me, he goes, oh, can you hold this bag for me? I was like, what? And I was holding it up. And I realised it was his food bag going direct into his stomach. And it was
easily,
like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was...
And then, like I say, you got people saying, I've got a headache. I mean, to be fair, I probably shouldn't have done it with that knee injury. But it was my event and there was no way I was pulling out.
So, when I was a kid, my mum always used to call me a stubborn so-and-so, and I take it as a compliment now, to be honest. But how much of this stuff that I'm going to fucking turn up and have a go, do you think is just ingrained in you, or it's there from very early on, or do you think it's all trained?
It's not ingrained in me, it's all trained. It's not ingrained in me. Me, I'm not a born winner. Never won anything. That's why I'll go into Saturday being like, I'm not bothered if I win or not. Like, I'm not bothered if I'd like to. It would be nice to bring a medal home. I've actually, you could say visualized, I've actually mentally rehearsed getting a medal. I know I've mentally rehearsed, here's how mad this is. I mentally rehearsed getting a medal at this thing, being on the podium. I know what shirt I'm wearing, what rash guard I'm wearing. I couldn't find that rash guard last week, so I had to buy it again. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about that. Wow. It's weird, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah, so I would like to, but I'm not that bothered.
So Paul Mort was a kid?
Never won anything.
Were you still quite outgoing?
Nah, not really.
Did you blend in or?
Not really, blended in, quiet. Here's a point that I got. At school, I was always the one that tried to make people laugh, so I'd always get in trouble. Okay. And then obviously you get to a point in your life where that's not acceptable anymore. And then I went away from that, and then I came back to it. Can't help myself. Yeah, I think it's something to do with not getting enough attention as a kid. I never got praise when I was a kid.
Right.
I'm not saying my mum and dad didn't love me, but I cannot remember any praise whatsoever. Yeah.
Wow. And
again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think it's part of the reason why right now, and you go through periods of your life, especially as an adult, where you get addicted to praise. I am. John DeMartini said, Paul, you're addicted to praise. And he said the problem you've got with that is you can't get the praise without the criticism, so you have to suck it up.
So is that part of the rush about being on stage why that's your favourite?
1,000,000%.
I mean, was it 1,000 people in Newcastle?
1,000 people in Newcastle. In Belfast, I did 1,500 when I opened for James. Yeah, that's definitely part of the reason. So it's like a superpower. Yeah. Holy shit. And I'm 100% ADHD as well. But that's a superpower. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without ADHD.
And do you think your kids, when they look at you on stage, think, bloody hell, one day I want to be like this? I know they're very young, but have they shown any inclination of what they want to do?
I think so. But you never know. Max is very quiet, but then he's also hilarious. Nina's very loud, but then I went to a school show the other week and she went from being the main one to being a little bit shy about it. But the
interesting.
kids go through these
of
periods.
course.
They go through these periods, and Ian's a little bit older now. She's 9, which means she'll start getting hormonal soon. Max has got a little mustache, so they change. But again, I'm hoping. I think my main job is to inspire them. If they don't want to do it as well, I'm cool with that.
I've got 2 teenage daughters.
Yeah, I'm cool
I'm
with
in the office a lot.
I'm cool with them not wanting to do what I do either. But if they do, they do. I'll do a podcast with them next week, actually.
And how are they sort of academic? Because my 2 girls, there still seems to be a lot of pressure on kids to do well academically. And whereas I look at the most successful people, my peers, and very average in school or weren't fussed, but they fucking
mate, I don't push them on it. I'm like, if they complain about the homework, I'm like, don't do it then. And then they do it. It's weird. Like, listen, you don't have to do it. I'm not going to force you to do it if it's upsetting you, but you got to consider that it's you who will have to deal with the consequences if you don't do it. I try and teach them responsibility. So if he goes into school and he hasn't done his homework and he gets detention, I'm like, well, if you want detention, that's okay. You have to deal with it. Rather than forcing them to do it and me like doing that homework for them to make sure they get it done. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not teaching them consequences. They need to get in the, I kind of want them to get in the real, it's part of the reason why they're not in private school. I didn't want my son to go to private. I could easily put my kids in private school, but I'm like, I'd rather them get streetwise in comp. I think they do anyway. They get a bit more streetwise. They're meeting some of the rougher kids. Yeah, it's a really interesting. It's a really interesting thing. Yeah.
Right. So some quick fire questions because I know time is precious.
Yeah,
right.
I also need a wee. Another one.
Right. You go for a wee. We'll do the quick fire questions.
Let's go. No, let's go. Let's go.
Okay. Right. Your favourite podcast besides Stay Hungry?
Great question because I don't listen to podcasts.
You don't listen to podcasts?
No, never.
Oh, okay.
No, don't have time.
Fair enough. What do you listen to in the car?
Music.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Talk sport. Hang on. Let's give you a podcast. Okay. Right now, I listen to... Actually, I'm going to give you my favourite podcast. Shag, Marry, Annoyed. Chris Ramsey. Yeah.
Oh, my wife loves that.
As a family, we listen to that a lot. My kids, it's weird. Max has listened to every single episode. But when we're travelling, we're like, let's get a podcast on. Otherwise, the kids will argue about what music's on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's probably the only time I listen to podcasts. It's mad, you know, it's really interesting because I say this all the time. I'm not much of a consumer. I'm a fucking creator. Mm-hmm. If I'm listening to a podcast, I could be doing sales calls then. I could be doing coaching calls then. I could be making videos then. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think you've got to get the balance right.
Okay, fair. Yeah. Right. Favourite film?
Oh.
That's one of our interview questions. We always ask that.
It's a world-class question. I watch a lot of films. A lot of films.
Still haven't seen the second Black Panther.
I've seen it. It's good.
That. Is it good?
It's good. Spider-Man.
Oh, whoa! Which one?
The last one.
Last one. Excellent.
It'll be right up there. In fact, I've got more. I love. There's a book. There's a one called. I think it's called The Green Book. It's an amazing book. It's an amazing film. The Green Book. I think it's called. It's amazing. Yeah. I couldn't even answer that question, but right now it'll be that last Spider-Man. I fucking loved it. When Tobey Maguire walks in. Amazing.
Oh god, yeah.
When the other guy walks in,
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield, amazing. Yeah, I mean that's a hard question. That The Green Book will be right up there though. It's an incredible book.
Whenever we interview people, it's like, "What's your favourite film and why?" Always keen to know. We're keen to know the why. Yeah, doesn't matter what the film is. Want to know why.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this new Avatar film. By the way,
when's that finally coming out?
Next Friday. No,
shit, really?
Friday after 16th.
Bloody hell!
16th. We booked it for 40x Christmas Eve. I can't wait.
Bloody hell! Excellent. Yeah. Right, your favourite kid. No, can't ask that one. I know grandparents have a favourite grandchild. Can't ask favourite kid. Right.
Different kids for different reasons.
Here's one. What's the best mistake you've ever made?
The best mistake. I'm fucking hell. I'm struggling because I've made so many mistakes. Letting people come in my program and snake.
Oh.
Letting people come in my program and try and steal clients. Letting people come in my program and here's the reason why that is a great mistake. In 2019 this happened and the next year I tripled my income because it was a big wake-up call for me. Not in terms of seeing like no coaches allowed in because I coach a lot of coaches, but just in terms of thinking I need to up my fucking game here. I need to up my game here. I need to not take it so personally when people leave. I need to make my program even better. You'll not find anything like what we do here. If you've seen the curriculum and the plans for next year, who else is doing that? No one else is doing that. So that was something, that happening was something that made me really level up my game.
Shit, I'd be too scared to go up against. I mean, people just have the balls to do that.
I mean, I would if I was them. It's not even balls really. It's just they're doing their best. That's why I saw it. If I was behind somebody, and even now I'm looking at, okay, who's doing this better than me? Robbins. There's people doing it better than me. The people who are further ahead, I'm going to take stuff from them. I'm not going to directly steal their shit. But I'm like, what are they doing that? Well, no. For example, Wake Up Warrior, 10, 12, 15 mil a year they're doing. Yeah. There's a reason why I've got their sales guy coming in to do a training for Alliance.
Oh, nice.
He also ran Tony Robbins' highest ever grossing ad campaign.
Okay, right.
A friend of mine.
Wow.
Strategically.
Have you been to a Tony Robbins event?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I watched do you see the Netflix thing about him? Don't know
The
whether
90-minute sales page.
Don't know whether it's not my cup of tea or not. Like, yeah, I don't know. Right, last question. Important one, obviously. Where do people go to find out more about Paul Mort?
Ooh, paulmort.uk has just had an overhaul. You can find me on Spotify. Paul Mort Talk Shit. You can find me on YouTube. Paul Mort 1 on Instagram. Watch out for the fake accounts on Instagram, though. There's loads of them. Don't go on my Facebook. I hate it on there. Cesspit. But yeah, the best place would probably be Instagram, Paul Mort 1.
Excellent. Paul, it's been a pleasure. You've changed my life. You've changed loads of people's lives. It's been an honour. Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Cheers, Paul.
You've been listening to the Stay Hungry podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share, leave us a review. I'll love you forever. Visit andyandjoel.com if you want to know more about our coaching. We'd love to hear from you. Take care, everyone.